Hello. So in this video, we're going to talk about Euripides' play Hippolytus. Now, I have done a video about Hippolytus before, but I reread it and I am older and wiser now. I think at that point I had just started maybe introducing background music into my videos, and I was not doing an amazing job at it. So this is an updated video. Doesn't cancel out the other one. I haven't actually gone back and rewatched it, but I assume that I still generally agree with the stuff that I said in that video. But this is a newer version. I will, down below in the description, link the other video. There'll be a card up above in the top corner, so you can definitely check that out if you want to. But Hippolytus is actually one of my favorite Greek plays, because it's a really interesting one from an adaptation studies perspective, because it's one of the few instances where there's a Greek play and then subsequent adaptations are almost as influential as that original. So Euripides writes Hippolytus around 429 BCE. Seneca, the Roman philosopher and playwright, writes his version in the 1st century AD, and then Jean Racine of the sort of golden age of French classical drama writes his version, I want to say, in the 17th century. And these are two big adaptations, right? I have a video about Seneca's version that's going to be going up, but these are two major versions that become canonical in their own right. And there's very few other instances of Greek plays where an adaptation becomes canonical in the way that the original is. And I'm putting original in scare quotes there in part because Euripides does not come up with this storyline, right? The Hippolytus myth predates Euripides, as does all of the material that the ancient Greek tragedians wrote about. It always came from before them. They were always adapting material that already existed as part of the mythic canon of ancient Greece. So, the Hippolytus story opens with Aphrodite basically being like, listen, Hippolytus is really being a jerk right now, in that all that I want is some fucking basic recognition as the goddess of love, and he is refusing. And so because I'm one of the gods and I'm in Euripides, and so I'm capricious, which is one of the things that very often we see with Euripides and his depictions of the gods. And so I am going to destroy Hippolytus to teach him a lesson. And in order to do this, I am going to use my greatest weapon, which is love. And so basically Aphrodite curses, I guess, Phaedra to fall in love with Hippolytus. Now, this is a problem because A, Phaedra is already married to a chap named Theseus. And B, Theseus is Hippolytus's dad, which means that Phaedra has fallen in love with her stepson. Now, in the Euripides version, Phaedra is wasting away. Like Hippolytus is just out fucking having a gay old time with all of his dude bros. They're probably not having a gay old time in the sense of same-sex sexuality, but there's certainly a sort of homosocial, if not homoerotic, characterization to their all-male fraternity of dudes who spend all their time together doing stuff, right? Regardless of that, so Hippolytus is just going around. He's hunting, he's feasting, he's doing his I'm a prince, I don't have any actual responsibilities, I don't have to do any work, etc. type bullshit, right? Phaedra is back in the palace. She's all like, oh, I haven't eaten for 3 days, and oh, I can't stand direct sunlight because I'm so weak and fragile because I'm literally trying to just will myself to death. So I stop having incestuous desire for my stepson. Phaedra's nurse is like, hey, listen, this isn't good. I don't care for this turn of events. Tell me what is wrong. And Phaedra is like, no, I cannot, because it would bring shame upon me and destroy my family. And the nurse is like, come on. And Phaedra's finally like, fine, I'll tell you. I'm in love with Hippolytus. The nurse is like, well, you should fucking go for it. Just ride that stepson of yours. And Phaedra's like, whoa, pump the brakes, playa. We are not doing that. You are not going to say anything. Also, chorus of women of Trojan who have also confessed this right in front of. None of you are allowed to say anything. The nurse is like, yeah, I totes won't. You can believe me. Oh, don't mind me. I'm just going to fucking go get this love potion to cure your love. Accidentally, I fucking went right to Hippolytus and literally told him the exact thing you just told me not to tell him. And I tried to get him to have sex with you, and he kind of is really pissed about it. So Hippolytus comes in, he curses the nurse for having tricked him into agreeing not to reveal this secret. He curses Phaedra for being all gross and incesty, and he goes off. He's like, I can't even right now. I'll be back when my father returns, and we'll fucking deal with this then. Like, I'm not even I'm leaving it alone. Phaedra is presumably, quite understandably, not thrilled with her nurse, having literally done the exact thing she told the nurse not to do. And so, out of a combination of shame, rage at the nurse, general existential angst, and unfulfilled incestuous desire, Phaedra goes and hangs herself, as women do in Greek drama when they want to commit suicide. It's pretty much always a hanging. That's just the cultural norm. Men typically don't hang themselves in Greek drama. Women typically do. So she goes and hangs herself. But before she does, she leaves a note for Theseus saying, the reason that I have hanged myself is because Hippolytus raped me. So, that happens. Theseus comes back. He's like, oh, hey, where's my wife? I've been away, probably having a number of affairs and doing a bunch of bullshit, because that's the type of person that I am and always have been throughout the mythological cycle featuring me, but I'd like to see my wife. And everybody's like, oh, condolences. She just died by hanging herself. Literally, here is her body. And Theseus is like, oh no, here's a note, I'll read that. Oh, Hippolytus has fucking raped my wife while I was gone. I curse him. Hippolytus shows back up. He's like, hey, Dad, glad to see you. And Theseus is like, get the fuck out. Also, I hope that my dad, Poseidon, kills you. I've got 3 wishes from Poseidon, my dad, and I want to use one of them to have him murder you. And Hippolytus is like, what? But I haven't done anything. And Theseus is like, look, here's a note that says you raped Phaedra. That is proof positive, and there's no need to look any further into it. Hippolytus then defends himself. Theseus is like, shut up, there's a note. And so Hippolytus goes off. Theseus continues to be like, I hate Hippolytus now. He sucks so much, and I don't like him. A messenger then shows up and is like, oh, bad news about Hippolytus. Mystical sea bull came up out of the ocean, frightened his beloved chariot horses, and they dragged the fuck out of him. Like, he is horrifically in the process of dying an incredibly painful death. So, we brought him on to see you. Hippolytus's dying corpse is brought on. The goddess Artemis shows up, who's sort of the beloved deity of Hippolytus, and she's like, "Bad news, Theseus, you fucked up, because Hippolytus here was telling the truth and Phaedra was lying, and you chose to believe the lie. So your son is horrifically dead, and it's all your fault. Hope you feel shitty." And Theseus does feel shitty, and Hippolytus also feels shitty, but more because he's dying an incredibly brutal death. He actually forgives his dad. They are reconciled. Hippolytus dies. Theseus is like, wah, wah, wah. I'm sad now. So that's what the play is about. One of the things that I was really struck by on this rereading. So first off, one of the major themes of this play is one that's sort of central to a lot of Greek drama and mythology, which is all things in moderation, which is one of the famous maxims that was supposedly on the doorways to the oracle at Delphi. This sort of idea of engaging in extreme action and refusing to stop, to take a deep breath, to count to 10, to reassess what's going on, and to try and think critically and to view others charitably. Like, this is a central driving force of a lot of Greek tragedy. So that's central here. But the other thing that really struck me this time around is how anti-feminist the play actually is. I mean, even just from that plot summary, I think it's somewhat obvious that this is true, but the actual sort of dialogue itself is continually critical of women, women's desires, women's role in society and in patriarchal heteronormative marriages. It's deeply, deeply misogynist on a number of levels. And so I'm going to point you to a few different places where we really see that. The first is in the prologue, spoken by Aphrodite, in which she comes across as this capricious, violent, arbitrary deity, which is not that uncommon for Greek deities, but I mean, it's really, like, if you think carefully about the depiction of this goddess, it's not positive, right? So she opens, I'm going to read you the first couple of portions of this. Mighty am I on earth and mighty in heaven, and named by many a name, I, Aphrodite, who have lived under my sway, every living, or who have under my sway every living soul in the light of the sun, from the Euxine shores to the Atlantic main, I honor those who reverence my power, but the proud and resistant heart I bring to the ground. Even the gods you see delight in the homage of mankind. Let me show you the truth of what I say. Hippolytus, son of Theseus and the Amazon, and brought up by Pythias, that pure-hearted man, has defamed and blasphemed me, treats me as the most despicable of gods. He alone in all Trojan spurns love, turns his back on the very idea of sex. He worships Artemis, Zeus's daughter, reveres her above all deities, ranges with her in continual partnership as he sweeps through the woods with his swift hounds, emptying the green wild. I do not begrudge him that. Why should I care? But for this, his slight to me, I mean to punish Hippolytus today. Indeed, his road to ruin is already cleared. It needs but a little more. So, Aphrodite herself acknowledges that the reason she is going to destroy Hippolytus is a relatively minor one, that he slights her by refusing to acknowledge her as a deity. And again, that's very common for Greek tragedy, right? The Greek gods were fucking jealous as shit, right? They were all about it. And yet, she acknowledges that the reason she's doing this is a relatively minor one, that it is not that important to her, but she is going to do it anyway. And what is more, she is not just going to destroy Hippolytus, she's also going to destroy Phaedra and Theseus by extension of destroying those two. And Phaedra has done nothing wrong to her, right? Phaedra presumably has given Aphrodite the proper rights. Phaedra is used here as a tool for Aphrodite's revenge. And yeah, that's problematic. So we've got all that, right? We've got this immediately, one of the most definitively female of the deities presented in this way, right from the start. We then have this portion where Phaedra, having revealed her terrible secret, says to the chorus of Trojan women, "Oh, a plague on the woman who first shamed her marriage vows and made love with another man. It was from noble families, too, that this evil first sprang up, and when the higher classes misbehave, the lower take it as their code of excellence. How I hate those women who extol chastity, but secretly indulge their flagrant affairs. I ask you, Aphrodite, sea-born one, how can they look their husbands in the face and not quake with dread that one day the conniving dark, the very bedroom walls will find a voice and shatter their deceit?" Right? So this notion of condemning women for having affairs without a comparable moral judgment on the men who have affairs with married women is, of course, a very patriarchal and misogynist perspective on things, because it puts all of the moral onus on women while allowing men to engage in the same kinds of behaviors without facing a comparable judgment. It's also pretty problematic that Euripides puts this particular condemnation into the mouth of Phaedra, who is, of course, a female character. And, I mean, as we know from living in patriarchal societies, one big problem is that often women within patriarchal societies play a central role in policing the behavior of other women and enforcing patriarchal norms. Here, we kind of have that, but we kind of also don't have that, right? Phaedra is a female character, but she's written by a male playwright, so these are Euripides' words, even if they're coming out of the character Phaedra's mouth, and she's performed by a male actor, because in the city Dionysia, which was where this play was originally performed, the main Greek dramatic festival in 5th century BCE Athens, all of the actors were male. And so these are words being spoken by a male actor, written by a male playwright, but coming out of a female character's mouth. And so again, there is that sort of slippage of, we have these creators who are very much vested in patriarchal power, utilizing the mechanism of someone who would be oppressed by a patriarchal society as a mouthpiece for voicing patriarchal ideology. We then have this we lose that slippage later on when Hippolytus curses the nurse and Phaedra, he has this extended misogynist rant, basically about how much women are terrible, and this goes unchallenged in the play, right? So this is an interesting contrast to something like Aeschylus's Oresteia, in which, in the third play, the Eumenides, Apollo puts forward the misogynist anti-woman argument, and I can't think of who it is that puts forward the defense for it, but there is a back and forth about this. In Hippolytus, there is none of that. Hippolytus condemns women in this ruthless tirade, and that just stands. So here's what he says. Great Zeus, why ever did you give a place to woman under the sun, that pestilent tribe that cursed to man? Was it to perpetuate the human race? That could have been done without womankind. In your temples you could have produced offspring to be bought according to their price in gold, iron, or copper. Then men could have lived in an untrammeled life in houses free of women. Woman is a plague, and here's the evidence. The father who begets her and brings her up then pays a gross dowry to get her out of the house and be rid of the baggage. The man who takes home this noxious package is then thrilled to bedeck his idol with every kind of frippery. He dolls her up in expensive gowns, he fritters away, poor fool, his heritage, and he is in a bind. He may have got himself excellent in-laws but an impossible wife, or an excellent wife but insufferable in-laws. He has to juggle with profit and loss. The luckiest man is he who wins a nobody for a wife, a brainless nincompoop who just sits at home. A brainy woman I abhor, and in my house at least I hope there will never be a woman of above-average brains. It's the clever ones that go in for Aphrodite's fun and games. The dullards are kept in check by their own ineptitude and don't let maids near wives. And don't let maids near wives. There's a period there. Let the company be animals, preferably those that bite, which can't talk scandal and can't talk back. As it is, worthless women hatch their plots in closets, and their maids broadcast them abroad. Yeah, he's a fucker. He's a terrible dude. This is just, again, an incredibly misogynistic depiction of women and of women's place within a society that, again, does highly constrain their behavior and their role within this society. And Hippolytus's words, again, go unresponded to. No one takes up the challenge of presenting a counterposition.